Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. I have two of my closest friends here. We have Famous B, aka 1975 wrestling fan. We might call him Brian during the show. And then we also have MTG from MTG Gaming, also known as Miguel. You'll hear us call him Miguel on the
Sir.
show. We have had a very exciting week of wrestling concerning WWE and AEW. It's been a very fun roller coaster of a weekend. We're just days away. I'm sorry. We are just days removed from AEW All In, from WWE Evolution, and all that came with the weekend's festivities. So I want to get started with AEW. And before we get into some of the takeaways from this big show, Miguel from MTG Gaming actually had the chance to attend. So I want to ask Miguel, how was that? How was your weekend? How did everything go? How was your experience attending AEW All in Texas?
It was a great event, bro. That's my first ever AEW event, and I can't wait to go to another AEW pay per view if they ever do one. And that's the only way I'll ever fly out of the state of Florida. And like I said, that was my first ever AEW event. It was just a great experience, and that's probably the second best wrestling show I ever been to. The first one will always be WrestleMania 38, but AEW is number two.
Talk to me about some of the memorable moments during the show itself and outside of the show during the weekend. I know that you went ahead and got some meet and greets done. I want to hear all about your experience meeting people, your experience with the events. Go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and go into detail, man.
Okay, well, let's start off on Friday. I was at Starcast. Starcast, that's the convention they did out for AEW All In, and you see people from AEW, some classic wrestlers that are not under a WWE contract. Um, it was at a hotel. It was the experience was kind of unorganized. I remember the people that I got was at the event was Sting, um, Jeff Jarrett, Mystico, Kira Hogan, Queen Aminata, Red Velvet. Hope I'm not missing anybody. Mina Shirakawa. That's all I can remember at the moment. And the experience was kind of weird in a way. It was honestly the most unorganized convention I've ever been to. Like they had us use barcodes to get wrestlers, and then barcodes weren't really working that well. I it happened to me to four different wrestlers, and there were some more wrestlers I wanted to get, but I got to a point where I was like, I give up. I don't want to do this no more because those barcodes kind of ruined the day for me, and ruined the day for everybody else because a lot of fans in there were complaining about the barcodes not working right. They were complaining about the hot temperature inside that venue because there was no air conditioning in that venue, and what else happened? They had zero coordination where people should line up for things. It wasn't really a great experience, but overall the wrestlers that I met were great. Most of them were great. Oh, and I forgot, I actually also met Gigi Dolan and Indy Hartwell on the second day of Starcast, and they did YouTube shout outs for me. And MTG Gaming shows a lot of love to both Gigi Dolan and Indy Hartwell because we used them a lot in our videos. My boy Heroes Energy uses Gigi a lot. I use Indy Hartwell a lot because their moveset is pretty cool in the game, and we showed them love, and they showed us love by give me the opportunity to let them do a YouTube shout out for my channel. And Sting was the number one guy that I wanted to meet at that convention because Sting has always been one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I was super happy, super stoked, and I got my WCW World Heavyweight title signed by both Sting and Jeff Jarrett. And I actually have a few autograph pictures here. I won't be able to show on camera, but the people that I got for these autographs, and all of them were free. I didn't pay for neither one of them. I had Kira Hogan, sweet girl. Oh yeah, I also had Diamante. I took a picture with her too. Didn't want to leave her out. Representing 305, baby. I also had Jeff Jarrett, Red Velvet, and I have a story to say about Red Velvet in a bit. I got Mystico, Oh yeah, I took a picture with Josh Alexander as well from TNA, who's now in AEW. and he gave me a free autograph as well. And Mina Shirakawa also gave me a free autograph. It's just that we were having a lot of technical difficulties with the whole barcode thing. That's why I got so many free stuff. And one guy was nice enough to let me have two free autographs and one picture with Jeff Jarrett because the bar the barcodes were messing up that whole entire day. I don't know why they could just let. I don't know why they can't do like other conventions where you just go up to the wrestler or the talent and pay with the card. I don't know why they don't do. I don't know why they do that. And what else happened there? But overall, if I had to give it a star rating for Starcast, it would be 3 out of 5. If it wasn't for all those difficulties and all those zero coordinations on where people should line up for things, it was just hell, bro. Being that was like I said, it was one of the most unorganized conventions I ever been to. Now, as far as AEW goes, it was at Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers, and it was a great experience. And I got my money's worth. And I didn't expect the show to be like 8 hours. So I was part of me and my cousin and my boy Hills Energy, who were all sitting together. We were all part of history. We went to the longest wrestling show ever. 8 hours. That was the longest wrestling show ever. So we were happy to be a part of history.
Yeah, no, I think Brian and I are both definitely jealous of you and Ant, aka Heel Synergy, who were able to be there live in attendance. Looks like a great time from our TV screens. And I want to get into this card and definitely let me know what the energy was like at Globe Life Field during these matches that we're about to get into. Let's get into arguably the best pound for pound match on the card. Arguably, there were a lot of fantastic matches on this all in card. But I think if you ask some AEW fans what their favorite match was, some of them might say the tag team match of the Young Bucks versus Swerve and Osprey. Tell me, what was the energy like for this match, which ended up being a sleeper hit for this AEW All In show?
That was a damn good tag match. It was super intense. It was a lot of kicking out. It was a lot of no selling in the match, and it just went back and forth. And I kind of got I was kind of it was kind of hard for me to predict on who was gonna win, and I didn't finally make my decision until like mid match. I said, "No, the Swerve and Osprey got this," and I was right. They won the match, and that match was just so damn good. And then the Young Bucks, of course, lost their EVP status in AEW, and now Swerve and Will Ospreay can challenge for the world title because I remember Swerve and I remember Will Ospreay said on Dynamite, "We will face you guys, and if we lose, we won't challenge for the world title for a whole year." And look how it played out. And then that match was just overall great, fucking great.
Were there any other matches during this show that exceeded or matched the energy that this all in crowd gave the Young Bucks, gave Swerve, and gave Osprey?
I also enjoyed the match where Dustin won the TNT title, and I know we were supposed to get Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher, and I was kind of bummed in a way because Adam Cole has always been one of my favorites recent recent years, and I really wanted to see him wrestle, but I kind of got bummed out when I heard that he had an injury and he's going to be out for a while. I hope he doesn't have to retire. And then I like the idea of them adding a fatal four way match for this because seeing a fatal four way match for the any type of mid card titles, either if it's the United States or the Intercontinental or the International or the TNT title, it's always fun to watch. You know.
Absolutely. I think that TNT championship match for All In was definitely covered with a lot of emotional moments, beginning with Adam Cole coming to the ring to address the people at home, address the crowd. He had tears in his eyes. We all wanted to see him wrestle. It seems like recently he's finally got that injury stigma away from him. He's had a great reign with the TNT title, and now he misses out on AEW's biggest show of the year. And what was going to be a marquee matchup between Kyle Fletcher and Adam Cole, baby. Of
Yes,
course, I
sir.
do think that seeing Dustin Rhodes get his moment with that TNT championship as his younger brother, Cody Rhodes, who's now in WWE, was the first to hold that TNT championship. Now it's Dustin's turn. He gets the big win in his hometown of Dallas, Texas. I know he's from Austin, but close enough. It was great to see Dustin Rhodes get that TNT title. It meant a lot that it was the TNT title specifically, as it has shades of Cody Rhodes, who has gone on to be wildly successful on the other side in WWE. So I really did enjoy seeing Dustin Rhodes get that win as well. And it really did make up for the disappointment that was Adam Cole, unfortunately. Tell me, let's move on.
Oh,
When
can I say
Cole,
one more thing about that?
absolutely, go ahead.
I remember saying this, and there will be a vlog on my experience at AEW all in on my YouTube channel. So subscribe to that. Anyone out there, and the easy way to find me is type on the search bar, MTG Gaming WWE, and then you see this. Well, I don't know if they'll see this exact profile picture, but you'll see me at my profile picture, me on WWE 2K25 cover with all three of my belts. And as far as Dustin goes, once that once AEW opened, I said whatever their whatever their mid card title becomes, Dustin's gonna win it, and I was right. I knew it since day one that he would eventually win a mid card title for AEW, and I was right about that.
Absolutely, man. I've always envisioned Dustin Rhodes getting the TNT championship. And when I figured out that All In was going to be in Texas in the year 2025, this current year, I thought, what better place to put the TNT title on Dustin Rhodes? There's no better place to
Agree.
put the TNT title on Dustin Rhodes. So I'm glad that we got to see that moment. We didn't really see it coming because we were expecting Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher, which was
Yep.
also going to be a great match, but we did get a moment that was
Yes, sir.
fantastic for the All In card.
Yep.
Let's talk about the Casino Gauntlet matches. What were your thoughts on these matches? The Casino Gauntlet mixes what feels like a regular match with themes of a Royal Rumble, which we're used to seeing with WWE. You have guys coming out every 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it is. You have the first pinfall wins the whole match.
Mhm.
You have guys like MJF in here. You have guys like Ricochet in here. You have guys like Mystico in here. Of course,
Yep.
Mark Briscoe was also in there. Tell me, for both men and women, how did these matches play out, and what was it like to be in the live audience for these matches?
The men's didn't disappoint, but the women to me wasn't really all that great in my opinion. But I'm glad that Athena won, and and then seeing the men's, it was a lot of high flying, especially with Mystico doing his thing, and seeing the wrestlers come out like in a Royal Rumble style live in person was actually pretty cool. And if you watch my vlog pretty soon, you're gonna see me record almost everyone's entrances that came out and they showed out in the ring. And I'm glad that also that Josh Alexander, one of my favorite TNA guys, got his chance to shine in that battle royal. He was German suplexing everybody. And he so yeah, that was a that was that's what I also got to say about the gauntlet matches. They were all pretty fun to watch. It was just that the women's match wasn't really, honestly, the women's part wasn't really, even throughout the entire show, the women's casino battle royal wasn't really all that up to par. And I remember seeing people going to the concession stands in the bathroom during that match. I mean, I didn't do it, and I didn't want to miss it because I show support. So I didn't want to miss any minute of that show.
I'll be honest with you, man. I actually enjoyed the women's Casino Gauntlet match. I enjoyed the men's as well. I just liked the big spots that the women were doing, flying. They included everyone on their big spots for that match, and I actually really appreciated it. I liked that it was different from the men's Casino Gauntlet match, which featured a lot of brief and quick one-on-one matchups for the most part. The women just had a scramble, man. It feels like every participant of that women's Casino Gauntlet match was almost a part of every spot. And I know that sounds crazy, but you know what I mean. Like they were all included and all taking bumps like every 5 seconds. But I like how it felt different from the men, and it was a really fun quick action, low intensity match that was for this all in card, which had a lot of very intense moments. You talked about entrances with the Casino Gauntlet match for the men and the women. Tell me about one entrance in particular. Tell me about the return of Cope. What was that like at Globe Life Field when you heard the Metalingus, the theme song? We all know it, On This Day. When
Yep.
that hit, what was that moment like?
It was a great moment, and that was during the tag match. I thought he was going to come out for the Battle Royal. I thought him and Darby would come out for the Battle Royal, but it's better how the way they came out, anyways. And see, I actually have a live reaction of me. You won't see my face, but you'll hear my reaction when you hear that song play. And the pyro and all that were great, and they were loud too. And the seeing that live in person was pretty awesome. Seeing Edge come back for being out, be on the sideline from injury for a while, it was pretty cool. And he tells Christian, of course, go find yourself.
Yeah, we're getting into a big story between Cope and Christian Cage here. We saw them feud for that TNT championship in what feels like yesterday. Now it seems like they're going to tell the story that ends them up as tag team partners once again. And I'm very excited for this personally. Last question for this all in card before we move on to what was a super eventful weekend of WWE's end. Well, I got two more for you technically. But tell me, in attendance, what match did you prefer? Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada for the inaugural AEW Unified Championship, or John Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page for that AEW World Championship in a Texas Death Match. Tell me about the experience of both of those matches individually, and then tell me which one did you prefer being in that stadium yourself?
Both matches were really great, and I think I enjoyed the Hangman versus Moxley match a little more than the Okada and Kenny match. And I did have Kenny Omega to win that match, but he didn't win, unfortunately. And it was a great match, but that match was not as good as they had in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The one that they had in New Japan Pro Wrestling, no other match besides that one at Wrestle Kingdom can top that match. And I knew that, and I kind of knew going into that match that we're not gonna see that again. We're gonna see some stuff, decent stuff, but we're not gonna see something just as good as that New Japan match, or even better. And as far as the Hangman and Moxley match, I actually have the T-shirt that I bought. It's an All In AEW All In T-shirt with the main event with Moxley versus Page. I actually have that T-shirt, and that was one of the best things I ever bought at the show. I even bought a AEW All In Texas baseball jersey. I even bought that. It's one of the favorite. That's probably the best thing I bought that night in the merchandise stand. And as far as the match goes between Page and Moxley, it was super bloody. It was just, and the part where he got the nail plate out, oh man, bro, that made me cringe so much. And I remember enjoying every single minute of it. Every single minute of it. That main event was awesome. And this pay per view really got my money's worth. Really did. Even though it was 8 hours, but I still got my money's worth on this pay per view. And seeing Hangman with the AEW World Title again is pretty awesome because he's one of the best guys in that company. He's probably the second best behind MJF. And I feel that both Hangman and Darby might kill off the Death Riders. And seeing Darby come back from the rafters, he was coming down like how Sting used to do back then. It was cool to see Darby come back and help Hangman take out some of the Death Riders. And it was also cool seeing Swerve coming in to help Hangman win the belt, and seeing Daniel Bryan. Oh, that even got a huge reaction too, just like Edge. Like he came in with the Blue Panther match, people were chanting yes, 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 yes. Even I was chanting yes. And what you call it? It was just great to see that. And yeah, overall that show was definitely. If I had to give it a 5-star rating, it's probably gonna get either 4.5 out of 5. That's probably what I would give it. And Yeah, that main event was just too damn awesome. I was hyped up for it, and I wish I could go back again and watch that whole event live in person because it was the second best wrestling experience I ever had. Attending all these events, that's the second best wrestling show I ever been to.
That's fantastic, man. I definitely think the main event of All In delivered the most out of the triple main event that was advertised.
Hmm.
I think if you were to ask me to rank the triple main event matches in order, I would definitely go the Texas Death Match for the AW World Championship at one. Hangman getting that win, having Darby Allin return, having Brian Danielson return, having the Death Riders interfere. It was a fun match. It was a fun Texas Death Match, and it was pretty dang violent. I do
Oh
think
yeah,
that we've seen more violent between Swerve and Hangman, but still, this check the boxes if you like deathmatch ultra violence.
and I
Mostly, I
also
don't know. Some deathmatch diehards maybe might say
right.
otherwise, but as someone who likes deathmatch, doesn't love deathmatch to that GCW level, to be completely honest with you, I was satisfied and I had a good time with this main event. Second, I would put the Mercedes Monet versus Timeless Tony Storm
Oh
match.
yeah,
That was an excellent match. And third, unfortunately, I would put Omega versus Okada when ranking the triple main event matches in order. It's not that it was a bad match, it's just the main event delivered, and then Mercedes Monet and Timeless Tony Storm went in there and had a fantastic match, put some respect on both of their names. Timeless Tony Storm is my favorite women's wrestling champion currently. And
yes.
Mercedes Monet, I think, doesn't get enough respect. I know she gets a lot of hate. It's fine, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mercedes. So for her to go in there with Timeless Tony Storm and kill it was very exciting to me. I was very happy to see that.
Yeah,
I
and
do want to conclude our coverage of AEW All In on the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast here and get into the abundance of WWE content that we have to talk about, but I do want to ask both Miguel and Brian. We'll start with Miguel. We are minutes away from the first AEW Dynamite after All In. I think one key takeaway from the show is the fact that Kazuchika Okada seems to be defending the AEW Unified Championship against Swerve Strickland. We don't know when, but these men did have a face off. We had
yep.
Okada calling out Swerve during the show. We'll start with Miguel. What do you think about that match? Are you excited for that match, or is it really just another match for you?
I am excited for that match, and this is gonna be real good, and it'll work out for Swerve for going up against probably the best Japanese wrestler alive. Okada is the best Japanese wrestler alive, and it's gonna be an honor for Swerve, and it's gonna elevate Swerve if he does beat Okada, which I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one. I don't know who's gonna win between Okada and Swerve, but I expect a really good banger, and it better be on a pay per view. Don't put it on Collision or Dynamite.
Right, we could have this one at Forbidden Door, or the next pay per view after Forbidden Door will be all out. I think either or both featuring Okada versus Swerve will be fantastic. I think even if Swerve looks good in defeat, I'm sorry, even if Swerve looks good in defeat here, it will still be of good service to Swerve's momentum.
Yep.
Swerve's momentum isn't exactly what it was when he won the world championship in 2024, when he main
Mhm.
evented All In 2024, but the guy still has some steam, and he's honestly one of my favorite wrestlers in the world right now. So I'm excited to
Yep.
see him go up against Kazuchika Okada, which I will agree with you, is the best Japanese wrestler in the world doing it right now.
Mhm.
Brian, what do you think about Swerve versus Okada for the AEW Unified Championship?
I mean, honestly, when you talk about two great athletes who are getting in the squared circle, you're really talking about Okada and Swerve Strickland. And I tell you, this is going to be a nail biter. It's definitely going to symbolize what pro wrestling is about. So I think it's going to be a great match. I think they're going to bring the heat. I think both definitely want to show their wrestling skills. And it's going to be a very awesome treat to watch when they go one on one for the championship.
Absolutely. This has me very excited for the next AEW pay per view. Whether they have this match on Dynamite or the next pay per view, I'm very excited to see it. I was hoping for one big takeaway during this Dynamite episode. I know AEW has utilized all the talent that they could possibly have at All In, so I wasn't expecting too much to go down on this episode of Dynamite, which is just after All In. Nonetheless, the fact that we know that we have Swerve versus Okada to look forward to is very exciting. Let's get into this WWE content. We have quite a bit to go through. Before we get into NXT, the Great American Bash, we know each other personally. We talk about wrestling a lot off of camera. And you know, I wasn't very happy to hear that NXT was going head to head with AEW All In. Perhaps I overreacted. I will admit that. I want to know what you think. Do you think it doesn't matter? Do you think it's good for wrestling? Do you think it's bad for wrestling? This is going to be a mainstay from here on out. Every time AEW has a pay per view, we can probably expect WWE to counter program them head to head with an NXT show. Tell me your thoughts on that.
So I mean, let's just make it very simple and clear here. It's called competition, and when you have competition, you want to bring the heat. So I think it's a very good thing actually to have companies, going at each other. But don't think of it so much as competition. What we need to think about, and we need to think more of it as simply we have pro wrestling. So wrestling fans, don't think of it so much again as a competition. Think of it more as we get pro wrestling, and we're going to get lots of it. And yes, we know that they're going to compete against each other. There may be more than one or two or three shows, going at each other, but let's just think of it as, hey, we get pro wrestling, and that's all that should matter is we get pro wrestling.
That's a completely fair take. I think that is the best state of mind to keep as WWE and AEW constantly take jabs at each other, constantly counter program each other, and really do take this personally as competition against each other. It is fun to be a part of, especially with the fan base. I think at this point, though, we're a few years into this war, if you will. I'll call it a war. There are WWE loyalists and then there are AEW loyalists. And you and I both know that, Brian. We have been in this space for a long time. I think one thing that I am disappointed about with NXT constantly going head to head with AEW is I want to give NXT my undivided attention. I love NXT. And I think
Okay.
over time, it's possible that NXT being thrown out at AEW as counter programming can actually hurt NXT because they may rush cards, they may rush builds. Great American Bash was announced, a month ago?
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Heat Wave announced the same day as AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door collaboration pay per view. I want to give NXT my undivided attention. I think NXT is the second best it has ever been. First best, I would say, is the black and gold era with guys like Finn Balor, guys like Shinsuke Nakamura. Real ones, no. Got wrestlers like Asuka were also a part of that black and gold era. But I think this black and silver era of NXT has slowly, under the radar, been shaping up to be a fantastic era. We have great champions like Sol Ruka. We have amazing champions like Obafemi. We got Trick Williams, running around with the TNA World Championship on NXT programming. We have the NXTNA stuff going on. I have grown to accept that when an AEW pay-per-view is on, I'm going to have to pull out the second monitor and watch NXT alongside the AEW pay-per-view. Just because
But
I've
let me
accepted that doesn't mean I love it. But nonetheless, life goes on. It's not a big deal. We get wrestling, like you said. Go ahead and add to this.
exactly like Famous B is saying. Look, here's the bottom line: the competition is not going to go away. It's not going to go away. But again, we get pro wrestling, and look, guys, we had 7 days of pro wrestling, which has been actually in the history books if you think about it. And that's the great part about it is we had Raw, we had NXT, we had AEW, we had TNA, we had SmackDown, we had the NXT pay-per-view, we had the AEW pay-per-view, we had Saturday Night's Main Event and Evolution. I mean, if that doesn't excite you as a pro wrestling fan, I don't know what does. And for me, I absolutely loved it. Now, could they be different times? Of course, absolutely. And I agree that maybe there's a way to where they can put on different times to make it more convenient. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting pro wrestling, and I am 100%. When I'm going to tell you this again, 1,000% okay with it. 1,000%. And that's all Famous B has to say about that.
And I would agree with your point, honestly. I think we are on different sides when it comes to this specific topic, but I see where you're coming from, and I couldn't disagree with the fact that we are getting wrestling. We're getting more wrestling, and best of all, we have urgency from these wrestling promotions like WWE, like AEW, New Japan, TNA, what have you. They have urgency to put their best foot forward and put on the best possible match and best possible card. That is from competition itself. So I will 100% see where you're coming from with this and acknowledge that you are right. Let's get into the NXT Great American Bash, which did run at the same time as AEW All In. Again, I had the double monitor set up. Wyatt and I had the double monitor set up. And while it was a lot to take in a few short hours, well, not for AEW, it was a lot longer. AEW actually bled into the beginning of Saturday night's main event, which is crazy. Started at the same time as NXT Great American Bash and bled into the first two matches of Saturday night's main event later that night, which was just, yeah, again, nuts. I got one match that I was really taken by with this NXT Great American Bash card, and that's All Ego Ethan Page defending the North American Championship against Ricky Saints in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Holy shit. What did you think about this match, Brian? This had to be the best match on the card, without a doubt.
I got to agree with you 1,000%. Holy shit, the match was exactly what we two were expect. We were to expect nothing less than aggressiveness. We knew that these guys wanted to go at each other. We knew they were going to bring the heat. It was absolutely everything that I knew it was going to be. It was awesome. And most of all, they worked together and they said, we're going to put on the best match that we're going to put on at this pay-per-view at the Great American Bash for the North American Championship. I am telling you, like, I'm going to go off of Sheamus's quote. It was a banger after banger after banger after banger, because that's exactly what it was. Holy crap, what a performance by these two. They did everything to keep us entertained. What an outstanding match it was. Kudos to both of them.
Absolutely. I also want to shout out Obafemi, who looked fantastic as usual in his successful title defense. And I do want to point one thing out. We saw the main event of NXT Great American Bash as Blake Monroe, formerly known as Mariah May, and Jordan Grace teamed up to take on Fatal Influence, JC Jane, and Fallon Henley. This match was on while the Young Bucks were taking on Swerve and Ospreay at All In. And I gotta tell you, it was not fair to Blake Monroe, formerly known as Mariah May, to have her first in-ring NXT match be on at the same time as honestly one of the best tag team matches I think I have ever seen. Referring to the Young Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay. I mean, I just wanted to point this out. I remember looking at the monitor I had that was playing the NXT Great American Bash main event and then not being able to pay too much attention to it because the Young Bucks, Swerve and Ospreay were tearing the house down at Globe Life Field. I literally turned to Wyatt and said, are they having a shitty match? Or is the Young Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay just really that damn good right now? Brian, what did you think about the main event of NXT's Great American Bash?
First of all, if you don't mind, famous B would be great, but I'm just playing with you. Okay, so let me say this. I honestly have to give AEW props here. They put on one hell of a pay-per-view this past weekend. I saw the highlights. I was like, wow. But you know, when you have a good match that is so enjoyable to watch, and then you have a match that's not so intriguing, your main focus is going to be what? Watching that exciting match. But let's make no mistake about this now. I want to be very clear about this. The women's division in WWE is on fire, and they need to get their props and need to get their credit where their credit's due. These women come in and day out, train, eat right, entertain the fans, and they put on one hell of a show. But yes, was it hard to watch both? Yes, because again, you had a great tag team match between Swerve, Ospreay, and the Young Bucks while you were trying to watch the match with Jordan Grace, Blake Monroe, and then, of course, Jordan Grace. So, again, what would have been my choice? Well, I got to go with the Young Bucks and Swerve and Ospreay because it was just a match that we knew was going to be nasty. The other match for the women, not so much. But again, I'm going to give credit where the credit's due for the women, but I will agree with you. I think most of the attention here was on the Ospreay, Strickland, and Young Bucks match. And again, I 100% agree that it was tough, but if I had to pick here, not to take anything away from the NXT pay-per-view, I think my focus, again, would have been on the Ospreay, Strickland, and Young Bucks match.
Yeah, like I said, man, I just want to appreciate NXT because I do acknowledge that they are fantastic right now. I'm not just saying this to say this, like they're damn good, and I don't think people talk about NXT enough. I
I agree.
enjoy Tuesday afternoons. Let's get
I
into
agree.
Saturday night's main event. We got
Let's, let's
two
do it.
big takeaways from Saturday night's main event. And it's fair to say that perhaps neither of them are necessarily good takeaways. Let's start with the Seth Rollins versus LA Knight match, where we unfortunately saw Seth Rollins take a funny landing on his knee. We saw a rough finish to this match as LA Knight quickly hit the BFT and pinned Rollins 1, 2, 3. And it was abundantly clear to us that Rollins seems to be very injured. Once again, an injury we've seen him have in the past, an injury that forced him to relinquish the WWE World Heavyweight Championship a decade ago seems to be haunting him once more. I couldn't be more stunned and saddened by the injury of Seth Rollins, who seemed to finally be being built up into this main event role alongside Paul Heyman, alongside Braun Breaker, and alongside Bronson Reed. Tell me your thoughts on the Rollins injury.
Okay, so this was a very tough situation to watch, but I have to say this, and this is why things happen, and they're not accidental. When you watch professional sports like basketball and baseball and football and hockey, things happen. And it's unfortunate that it had to happen with Seth Rollins. And you never want to see injuries occur, especially when it's a good match that's being ready to be shown. And unfortunately, when Seth Rollins tried to make that move, we saw what happened to the knee. It gave out. He was on he was on his butt, unfortunately, and he said, "Look, I can't go anymore. My knee is completely shot. I'm going to let LA Knight win the match. So LA Knight, do your signature move on me. Let's end it. I got to get out of here. I'm in pain and I got to roll." But I will say this. We don't know the severity and how long Seth Rollins is going to be out. There's multiple reports saying that he could be out 4 to 5 months. Some are saying that it could be longer and that maybe his return will be at WrestleMania. But I want to make this very, very clear. If Seth Rollins is out 4 to 5 months, he does not lose that briefcase. Even if he's out a year, let's say, he still has time to cash in that briefcase. But if it's longer than what it's expected to be, then of course maybe he will relinquish that briefcase. And again, it's very unfortunate. But I wanted the match to go longer. I wanted to see how aggressive they were going to be against one another. But, it's unfortunate. And it was a terrible accident. But at the end of the day, what does this really mean for LA Knight? Because remember, he didn't win the way he wanted to win. And he even said it himself. It was a terrible way to win a match. Is this match really got LA Knight over? I am not 100% sure about that. We're going to have to wait and see what transpires after this whole match. But I will say this. My thoughts and prayers are with Seth Rollins. I hope that it's not longer than what is expected to be. And we should hopefully see him back very, very soon and able to cash in that briefcase. We're going to have to wait and see. I did watch a report actually from him stating that he knows that he's going to be out for a long period of time, but he expects to hopefully make a turn at next year's WrestleMania. So again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Seth. We want you to get better, get healthy, and hopefully you'll have that opportunity to cash in at the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be quite poetic if Rollins was healthy, good to go, and ready to cash in that Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania once more. The very move that blasted him into superstardom back in 2015, 10 years ago at WrestleMania 31. That would be quite entertaining to see, although I might be a little biased because I am a humongous Seth Rollins fan myself. Another takeaway, last takeaway here from Saturday night's main event, we had Goldberg taking on Gunther, the world heavyweight champion, in what was apparently his retirement match. Now, tell me how the match went in your eyes, and we know that Goldberg is pissed about his retirement for whatever reason. I don't even want to comment on that too much, but I do want to throw that out there if you want to say something about it. Nonetheless, at least tell me what you thought about the main event of Saturday night's main event between Goldberg and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, I got a lot to say here, and I'm going to make it very clear in this podcast, and I want every wrestling fan to hear this, and I think you all will agree with what I'm about to say here. I completely agree with Bill Goldberg here. For the life of me, I don't understand. As a matter of fact, this is what I would have done. I would have made this a non-title match. If Goldberg wanted to fight Gunther, this should have been a non-title match. Why? Because if Goldberg was to beat Gunther, it wouldn't hurt Gunther. He would still be champion. Not only that, Goldberg goes out a winner. Not only that, it's in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. But for him to lose in his hometown, and we all knew he was not going to be the world champion. And the simple fact that Seth Rollins got hurt that same night, he wasn't going to cash in the briefcase. So why not give Bill Goldberg his one last one, give him that win in his hometown, let him go, and Gunther goes, hey, you know what? Look, let him win his last match in his hometown. I'm still going to be champion. It's not going to hurt me. I'm going to move on. I just found it disrespectful what they did to Goldberg, and I'm on his side 100%. I think it was absolutely wrong for what they did to Bill Goldberg, and it kind of actually pisses me off because I'm going to tell you why. They better not pull this stuff with John Cena. He better win his last match and go out the way he wants to go out. I don't even care if he's a babyface or a heel. It doesn't matter to me. I want John Cena to win his last match in a non-title or title match. It doesn't matter. And at least he goes out a winner in his last match. Same thing with Trish Stratus. Look, yes, she has the Legends contract. We're probably going to get into that as well. But I just want to throw it out there real quick here. She should have done the same damn thing. Even if she has Legends contract, let her win the match. Tiffany Stratton will still be world champion. It's not going to affect her. But when you bring Legends into these matches, let them win the freaking match and make it a non-title match. To me, it just doesn't make sense. For the life of me, don't understand how they handled this situation, and I really think they need to make adjustments here. They need to focus on if you're going to bring legends into a match, let them win the match, but make it a non-title match and let them be free. That's the way I see it. So I completely and 100% agree with Bill Goldberg as to why he was pissed off. And I wish they could have handled it differently. Wrestling's bullshit. I just am so frustrated with how they did this to him. And kudos for Bill Goldberg to come out and say, look, this really sucks. I can't believe they did this to me. And then one more point before I turn it back over to you, Wrestling's bullshit. Look, Bill Goldberg, after the match was over, grabbed the mic and had to apologize. How embarrassing is that? That is completely embarrassing to have a WWE Hall of Famer apologize to the fans because he didn't win the match. A match he should have won, but non-title match. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
There's a quote in wrestling, man. You go out on your back, you take the L, and I respect that. I am a huge fan of Gunta. I think giving Bill Goldberg's last match to Gunta in victory is good for Gunta. And what happens if Goldberg wins? What happens if he beats Gunta, who has been built up by Triple H for years at this point? Goldberg
I
just
just
leaves with the momentum. I personally think that having people in their retirement match lose, giving that momentum, giving that rub to guys like Gunta, when Cena retires, maybe it'll be guys like Cody Rhodes. I don't know. I'm not here to predict that in this episode. But I
Right.
am definitely on the other side of the coin for this one, but that's all right. That is what this podcast is about, and that's why we are such close friends, because we can have these passionate conversations about pro wrestling, and hopefully it's entertaining for those of you that are listening.
Let me ask you a question really quick here, because you just said that you thought it would build up Gunther. But let me ask you a question. Gunther's still the world champion. Even if he lost this match, okay, he's got to deal with the person that has the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's who he has to deal with. So even if Gunther wins the match, he goes out a winner. He's 58 years old. He retired. Gunther did not have to get over. There was no reason for him to get over. He's got to worry about the person that has that briefcase. That means John Cena, the champion, and Gunther, the champion. That's Gunther's issue. Not only that, he's got to worry about CM Punk. So that's what I'm saying. It didn't really affect him in any way if he was to lose against Goldberg. That's the, and any podcaster or anybody would probably agree with me. There was no reason to have Gunther win that match and not let Goldberg go out a winner. I'm sorry. I completely understand why he was upset. But with that being said, that's why we have this podcast. But I disagree with that 100%.
And that's okay. I just definitely think for Gunther, his gimmick is he gets wins. He chokes people out. And I
Right.
know he tapped out to Jey Uso like that, and he lost to Cody at Crown Jewel last year. I think
Right.
you have Gunther win every single chance you get. And I was personally okay with Gunther getting the dub here. I'm glad nobody
Okay.
got hurt. We know Goldberg had a stinker of a match in Saudi Arabia with The Undertaker. Gunther was
Right.
able to lead as he is in the prime of his wrestling career, arguably. I don't know, maybe he gets a little better. He's definitely in a position to lead Goldberg through his last match. And I do not think Goldberg was in a position to lead a match. Nonetheless, let's move on. Goldberg was a very entertaining wrestler. He was a badass in WCW. He had the streak, iconic, holding the World Heavyweight Championship the night he beat Hollywood Hulk Hogan, excuse me, on WCW Monday Nitro all those years ago. It was cool to see him have his last match.
Right.
Big day of wrestling this past Saturday was, man. We had NXT and AEW all in, going in at the same time. And then we went into Saturday night's main event, which was also a very entertaining show. And if that wasn't enough for you wrestling fans, we had WWE Evolution the very next day. Woo! Okay, let's talk about what we saw on WWE Evolution, starting with Jade Cargill and Naomi. Jade Cargill and Naomi have been a prominent feud on SmackDown for several months now. It was all leading to this no-holds-barred match at WWE Evolution between these two women, where Jade Cargill got the victory. But that is not it for Naomi, as Naomi did cash in her Money in the Bank contract in the main event of Evolution, which saw Rhea Ripley taking on Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. And the show ended with Naomi holding the Women's World Championship. Talk to me about both matches. Talk to me about how you feel about the ending and how you feel about Naomi as Women's World Champion.
So I have to tell you that the Jade Cargill and Naomi match was probably the best match of the night. Why? The physicality, and again, I talk about this on my podcast, and I'm going to talk about it as well on our podcast here. When you have great promos and great storylines and build-ups, you're going to have fantastic matches. That's what we got here at Evolution between Jade Cargill and Naomi. Not only that, they've had past feuds before, and it just continued. And the buildup was just continuing. And it took us to this match where they simply beat the hell out of each other, and Jade Cargill gets the win over Naomi. Now, what does this mean for Jade Cargill in particular? It boosts her confidence for sure. The question is, will she be world champion anytime soon? maybe in the near future. But I don't think right now, and I'm going to tell you why. Naomi, after she made this transition of this character, proceed with caution, this brand new attitude, this flavor, I'm loving it. Congratulations to Naomi for becoming the brand new Raw Women's Champion. Now, I thought she was going to go after, of course, Tiffany Stratton, because she was just really just going after every single show on Friday Night SmackDown and just telling her, I have the briefcase. I'm coming after you. I'm going to take the title. And all of a sudden, she did a complete 360 and just shocks the world and and obviously gets involved in the Rhea Ripley and Io Sky match and becomes your brand new Raw Women's Champion. Now, let's talk about the match between Mommy, aka Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky. Okay. Were we to expect anything less here, wrestling fans? This was a main event. They fought in NXT before. It was awesome. It was no different here. But the one thing I like about this match was that they were willing to work together. And when they work together, you see the finished product. You see the results. So with that being said here, I'm going to end it on this note. The women's division's on fire. And if you don't believe me, you probably should watch the Jade Cargill and Naomi match first, and then you need to turn around and watch the Rhea Ripley and Io Sky match right after. As shocking as it was for us to know that Naomi cashed it in on Io Sky during their match was shocking, but it happened. So congratulations to Naomi. Congratulations to Jay Cargill and all four of them for putting on an absolute fantastic show and their matches. I absolutely loved it, and it was just simply amazing.
Absolutely. Both matches were so fantastic. I'm not saying this for myself, but if someone was to tell me I enjoyed the Io Sky versus Ripley match, the main event, more than the No Holds Barred match, I couldn't argue with that. Both matches were so neck and neck, and I would agree with your statement of good stories facilitate great matches. Naomi and Jade Cargill have been intertwined in a fantastic story. So their No Holds Barred match at Evolution was amazing. And for AEW to have a match consisting of Timeless Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné and it turning out to be really freaking good, WWE less than 24 hours goes ahead and says with the Evolution Premium Live event, we still have the best women's wrestling in the world. And I couldn't agree more. And this just was great. The women's division currently in WWE, while there are some booking mishaps every now and then, continues to be the best in the world. And I think the future is also bright. They're doing great things with women's wrestlers in NXT. We see Julia built up to be the new Women's United States champion, and she's ready to fill those shoes. She's ready to fill those shoes. Thank you to Shawn Michaels and NXT for that. We also saw a recent main roster call-up in Stephanie Vaquer win the Evolution Battle Royal, another sign that the future is bright. And we saw a little bit of NXT development as Blake Monroe ended up turning on Jordan Grace. We now have heel Blake Monroe. We saw Blake Monroe, formerly known as Mariah May, play a great heel on AEW programming, and it looks like that heel character of Blake Monroe is coming to NXT. The future is bright. They're building stars. NXT is collecting women's wrestlers like Infinity Stones, building them up. So if you personally do not feel, not you, Brian, but anybody listening right now, I know how you feel. You love it, just like I do. If you personally feel like WWE is not doing the best job with the women on the main roster, you just wait. You just wait. Wait until Blake Monroe comes in. Wait until Jordan Grace comes to the main roster. Wait until Fallon Henley and JC Jane come to the main roster. This roster is going to be stacked before we know it. People may feel like it's good right now, but everyone's going to be saying that it's great sooner rather than later. This was a great premium live event. Anything else to say about it?
I wanna talk about Stephanie Valkyr and her development. And she goes to NXT, she wins the NXT championship, and before you know it, she's on the main roster. And now she gets a chance at a championship match at Clash of Paris. And I'm telling you, I love Stephanie Valkyr, and I think she's going to be a bright, bright WWE Diva superstar in the women's division. I'm going to throw out Julia, who is the United States Women's Champion, who also was in NXT and was an NXT champion. She is unbelievable. She's remarkable. I'm telling you, I agree with you 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention because with like wrestling bullshit was discussing, we have so much talent on the NXT roster for the women and men that WWE is playing this really smart. And let me tell you why they're playing it smart. I love the fact that the NXT superstars go to the main roster while still being in NXT, are having a chance to feel what it's going to taste like when they actually stay on that main roster. So when your name is called and you go up to that main roster, you're getting a feel of it. And you will have a chance to know. Because listen, like I said, when your time is called up and your time is there, hey, you've already had a taste of it. Now it's for you. It's time for you to go to work. You got to go to work. So I love it. That's for both the men and the women here. It's a 50-50 thing here. For the men, if you're in NXT and you get called up to the main roster, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown, and you're performing while you're still at NXT, if your name is called up, at least you're going to know, hey, I've already had a taste of it. Now it's time for me to perform. Now it's time for me to live my dream. And what's that dream? And that's everybody's dream. Becoming a world champion. All right, I'm going to throw it back over to you.
There's one more thing I want to talk about before we conclude this episode of the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast, and that's the upcoming SummerSlam card. SummerSlam takes place on the first Saturday and Sunday of August, which is right around the corner, and we have a good idea of matches that we are going to see. Let's start with a pair of tag team matches that are all but confirmed. Well, one of them is confirmed. We'll start with the one that's not confirmed, that I'm all but sure is going to happen. I'm sure you are as well. And that's Roman Reigns, a recently returned Roman Reigns, teaming up with main event Jey Uso to take on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. How do you feel about seeing Roman Reigns and Jey Uso tag at SummerSlam against the Rollins Goons, or whatever we're calling them?
I'll tell you what, it's just going to be an entertaining and fun match to watch. You're talking about Bronson Reed. You're talking about Braun Breaker. These guys have developed so well. The future is bright for both. Roman Reigns is probably going to be on his way out very soon. It seems like he has a future in the movie industry, but he still loves WWE. And when you talk about main event Jey Uso, my gosh, what a great performer. Meaning everything that's happened to him was because of the dedication that he put in. We remember him with his brother. They're tag team champions. No one really thought that he could be an individual wrestler, a guy that can never win championships. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he proved everybody wrong. Yes, was it a short reign? Absolutely. We'll get into that for another topic and another discussion. But the bottom line is the way that main event Jey Uso has this crowd with him, the way he's enthusiastic, that will never change. So this tag team match will symbolize development versus professionalism versus experience. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso already have that experience versus the young talent and future that will grow. I tell you what, it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are going to do in this tag match against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and main event Jey Uso.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for this tag team match. It's going to be great. It's always good to see the OTC whenever he graces us with his presence. We actually have a confirmed tag team match, the second tag match that I wanted to talk about here, and that is Jelly Roll teaming with Randy Orton to take on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. You have any comments on this, Famous B? Or do you want to move on? I'm cool with moving on. I
I'll
hope it's
tell you
good.
what. I'll tell you what. I actually do want to comment on this. This match is going to be entertaining to me, but if I have to be honest here, this match should have never even happened. I just don't understand why Jelly Roll had to be involved in this. Randy Orton could have been put in a better situation, even if Randy had fought Logan Paul or Drew McIntyre again, whatever. But all I could say is that this match hopefully will be entertaining. But yeah, I'm with you. We can move on from it. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun. I have three women's matches for us to talk about before we get into our what seem to be our two main events. I'm sure one will main event night one will main event night two. We'll see how it goes. But before we get to those, let's talk about three women's matches. Let's talk about Becky versus Lyra, which is in-ring chemistry and a feud that we have established over the past year or so. It's got the women's Intercontinental Championship on the line. Lyra previously held the title. Now Becky has it. I'm sure these women will deliver. Let's also sandwich in here Tiffy versus Jade. Again, Naomi swerves all of us, goes to the Raw roster. We seem to have unfinished business between Naomi and Cora Jade. Did I say Cora Jade? I meant Jade
Yes,
Cargill.
you did.
Oopsie. Jade Cargill and Naomi are on different they're on different brands now. We have Jade Cargill going after Tiffany Stratton. She has earned that right with the Queen of the Ring win that she got recently. And then, of course, Naomi will be defending her Women's World Championship in a triple threat match against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Talk to me about these three matches.
All right, let's get into the Tiffany Stratton and Jay Cargill match. I have a strong feeling here that we could see a title change hands here. The reason why is because I believe that Jay Cargill is on another level. Tiffany Stratton has worked her butt off. We know that. And she's performed, at a high level. But there's something about Jay Cargill that entices me, and that is her work ethic. And Tiffany also has a great work ethic as well. But Jay Cargill, man, I'm telling you, she's more focused, she's more determined, and I really think that we're going to have a title change hands here when they fight each other. All right, let's move on to the next one. Becky Lynch versus Lila Valkyria for the Intercontinental Championship. Again, another banger match that's going to take place. I still believe Becky Lynch will retain. Why? It's just the way that she is just continuing to get these fans against her. She's making a statement. She's saying, hey, I don't need anybody. I'm on my own. I am proving why I'm the greatest women's wrestler on the roster. I think, that she's just on fire right now. And I love the fact that Becky is continuing to work with this young talent to get them over. We know that Lila Valkyria is the first ever women's intercontinental champion and still has a very bright future ahead of her. I really think that this match is just going to be something that we've already seen before and we're going to see again. So I am really looking forward to that match. Now, let's talk about Naomi, the Raw Women's Champion, in a triple threat match taking on Rhea Ripley, aka Mommy, and Io Sky. Again, we're talking about three wrestlers that were in NXT. We basically know what all three of these women are capable of. We're going to see lots of high flying action. We're going to see a lot of aggressiveness. But wrestling fans, again, are we to expect anything less here? We know this is coming. Is the title going to change hands? I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this much. Naomi has it. She's proven why she thinks she deserves it. Mommy thinks she should be the champ as well as Io Sky. So this is going to be a hard judgment call for me to predict, but I can tell you this before I turn over to Wrestling's Bullshit. All of these matches that are going to happen for the women are proving my point. And what is my point? Once again, before I return it to Wrestling's Bullshit, the women's division is on fire. Again, before I turn over to Wrestling's Bullshit, the women's division's on fire. I'm going to turn it right back over to you.
Absolutely. I definitely think it is Jade Cargill's time to hold the WWE Women's Championship. Naomi just won the Women's World Championship, so I think she holds on to it out of this triple threat. Maybe a roll up win, maybe something. We'll find out. And we have Crown Jewel coming up soon. I think you have Jade Cargill with the WWE Women's Championship, and you have Naomi with the Women's World Championship, and you have them meet again in Saudi Arabia as we go champion versus champion in Crown Jewel. You have the story, you have the in-ring chemistry, you have the championships involved. Maybe you give Naomi a surprise win. I know WWE wants to make these Crown Jewel championships mean something in terms of the rings that they're bringing in. Once a year you have the main champions face each other and you decide who the spokesperson, the banner of the men or women of WWE is. Last year it was Cody Rhodes who got the roll up against Gunther, and it was also Liv Morgan who defeated Nia Jax, surprisingly. But I think if you want to go ahead and have this Crown Jewel Championship match be between Naomi and Jade Cargill, you do it because there's a great story to tell, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity to give Naomi some well-deserved recognition at a high level. Even if Jade Cargill were to win, she's fantastic as well. I think that even though Naomi has moved over to Raw, we will see Naomi versus Jade Cargill again sooner rather than later through the Crown Jewel Premium Live event. Now we have two main events. The first one is confirmed. We have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Is Cody Rhodes going to win the undisputed WWE Championship back at SummerSlam? What would you like to see?
Okay, so here's my prediction, and I'm going to turn it over to you. It's going to be very short, very sweet, but very knowledgeable. John Cena won the 17th World Heavyweight Championship. That was going to be given to him at some point here, ladies and gentlemen. We all knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. But I did predict that it was going to happen at WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes, that it didn't happen at the last pay per view. John Cena breaks the record. John Cena turns heel. John Cena doesn't care about what the fans think. John Cena wants to take the championship with him and ruin professional wrestling. He's got his gimmick and he loves it. But I'm going to predict this right here and right now on this podcast. Cody Rhodes wins back the undisputed WWE Championship. Why? Because John Cena has already completed his goal. He's going to go out. He's going to lose to Cody Rhodes. He's going to go back to a babyface. And then he's going to finish out his tour. And in his final match, whoever that opponent will be, hopefully he wins. We don't know if he's going to lose. I would prefer him to win. But the bottom line is this, pro wrestling fans. John Cena completed that goal. He completed it. It is done. And now it is time for him to finish up, and then he will be gone. So my prediction is Cody gets it back. John Cena goes back to a babyface. There's been possible rumors of opponents that have been discussed. We'll get into further details on the podcast here of who it's going to be. I don't think it's a real big focus right now. I think the main focus right now is that John Cena had a great little run. I want to see him go back to a baby face. I think his heel turn has been a little soft, kind of like soft for me, so to speak. I really wasn't feeling his heel turn, and I think him going out as a baby face for the 25 years that he has been a baby face, it needs to return that way and let him go out the way he came in, and we move on. So I have Cody Rhodes winning and getting the championship back after SummerSlam.
I would absolutely agree. I think it's time to put the title back on Cody. We've had good fun with Cena. I haven't disliked heel Cena as much as other people have. To me, it's just so fun. It's something new. It's fresh. I understand why people have a gripe with it. I personally do not. I'm not going to get into it too much. I will say, if WWE wants to get really risky, what are the odds of a double turn happening with Cody and Cena? Put Cena back as a face and have Cody turn heel. I understand people have been talking about Cody turning heel. Next year's WrestleMania will mark 2 years since he finished the story, over as he'll ever be as a babyface. Do you strike while the iron is hot? Maybe they milk Cody Rhodes as a babyface for a little bit longer, or do you just go right into him being a heel? That's for WWE to decide. But I am excited to see Cody and Cena go one-on-one once again, as it will be a pivotal chapter in the story of John Cena's retirement tour and Cody Rhodes overall going forward. So that will be a marquee matchup. It will probably be the main event of night 2. What will be the main event of night 1, you ask? Potentially, it's not confirmed, but potentially Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to tell you right now, I want Gunther to kick CM Punk's ass. Personally. I want to hear what you have to say about that. What do you think? Who do you want to win? Gunther or CM Punk? And following that up, what are the odds that we are being worked with this Seth Rollins injury? I know that may be insensitive for me to say. I know that it might be really far-fetched, but I want to know what you think. What would be your reaction if Gunther and CM Punk were both laying down in the ring, out of energy from kicking each other's ass, and we hear, "Burn it down"? Fire goes up. Rollins comes out with the briefcase. Is it wishful thinking on my end? Yes. but that is what podcasts are for. Let's dream. Let's hear about this match. Let's hear about the potential of us being worked with the Rollins injury.
Okay, so you brought up some interesting points here that I want to emphasize, and that'll be with Seth Rollins after I talk about um, Gunther and CM Punk. I will agree with you 100%. I think Gunther retains the world championship. I think that Gunther is just continuing to elevate himself at a very high level. I think he's got the fans drawn in. I think Triple H loves what he's doing, and he's proven why he is Gunther. CM Punk. Some people could say that CM Punk is at that stage where he's getting older. Father Time is catching up to him. This could be his last run. Maybe we should put the world title on CM Punk. I think that this match is going to get Gunther over. Why? Getting a chance to work with the future Hall of Famer and CM Punk, because that's what he's going to be, is amazing. I give kudos to CM Punk. I think CM Punk really wants to let everybody know why Gunther is who Gunther is. And by working with Gunther, even though we know he's probably not going to win the match, and I would be shocked if that happened, at least this is the person that he wants to get over, meaning Gunther, the world champion. So CM Punk is definitely going to give Gunther a run for his money. And again, he's going to push him at that very high level, as I've been talking about on my podcast, as world champion. Ladies and gentlemen, this match is not going to be easy for Gunther. CM Punk is going to really challenge Gunther at every possible level. I can almost guarantee it. Now, I strongly doubt that this is going to happen, although wrestling's bullshit. Just wanted to throw it out there. But I can guarantee you Seth Rollins will not be showing up at their match. He's hurt. Now, if it's a work, boy, was it a pretty damn good one. But it doesn't sound like it. Triple H comes out and says, you know what? It doesn't look good. Now, Triple H has done this before where he comes out and he says, hey, this, and this. And the next thing you know, boom, we're surprised. So again, I want to come on this podcast and tell you wrestling fans as I do with my other podcast. And I think Wrestling's Bullshit can agree to this. Always expect the unexpected. It could be possible. Is it likely? No. I think he's hurt. I think he's out for a while. But that key word that I just threw out on this podcast is this. Always expect the unexpected because the shit can get crazy at any given point in time. But again, I think it's unlikely it'll happen. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over back to Wrestling's Bullshit.
We have a fantastic weekend of wrestling behind us, but other things we have covered on this podcast episode are the fantastic wrestling matches that are ahead of us in SummerSlam. And then from AEW side, we know that we will be seeing Okada versus Swerve sooner than later. But nonetheless, guys, we've gone over everything we set out to go over in this episode. We're almost touching 90 minutes here. We've had a good time. We've had some great takes. It was great hearing about MTG's experience being in the all-in crowd this past weekend. Famous B had some great points when it comes to the analysis of all things WWE going on right now. I have been Matt, aka Wrestling is Bullshit. I have been blessed to be able to have Famous B and MTG in my podcast episode today. Famous B, where can the people find you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again. I wasn't hearing you. I'm
All
sorry.
good. Just plug your Instagram. Where can the people find you?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. So, 1975 wrestling fan, aka Famous B, live on the Wrestling's Bullshit podcast. Where can you guys find me? Guys, go to 1975 wrestling fan. I'm your host, aka Famous B, on Instagram. Give me a follow, and I talk about all things of pro wrestling, but I do cover more of WWE, but I do watch all the other stuff. And I want to throw this out here. When you watch the podcast, pro wrestling fans, you're going to get the three most awesomest things on my podcast, which is passion, enthusiasm, and desire. And it's free for all to comment, to have fun, and most importantly, I want to keep the wrestling community together. I think that's the most important thing as being a wrestling podcaster, whether it's on my own or on this podcast here. But I want to thank you, especially Wrestling's Bullshit, for creating something special, for giving us an opportunity to come on here, being able to have fun, talking about the things that are important in pro wrestling. And I think it's very enjoyable. And I do want to thank you for today's podcast and episode. And pro wrestling fans, we will not let you down. We will continue to excite you and entertain you and keep you well informed. So I want to thank you.
Well said, man. It's been a pleasure of mine to have you on here. I love the conversations that we have. And yeah, it's also been a pleasure to have Miguel from MTG Gaming on here. Miguel, where can the people find you?
On YouTube, MTG Gaming, and
Miguel, you there?
the only way. Can
Hello.
y'all hear me? Can
Yep,
y'all
you're
hear
good.
me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
Okay. The way to find me on any platform, I'm on YouTube, MTG Gaming. I do a lot of video games. I do WWE. I do AEW. I do all types of different stuff. And I do wrestling. I even do the MLB. And you can see me and my boy Hills Energy go at it on WWE 2K25 a lot because we have so many matches going at it together. There's a lot of great matches that I think all of you will enjoy on MTG Gaming. And I got shout outs recently from Indy Hartwell and Gigi Dolan. I'm happy that I got that. And yeah, that's the way you find me. MTG Gaming on YouTube. To find me easier, search bar MTG Gaming WWE, and you'll see my profile picture. Me on the WWE 2K25 cover with all three of my belts. That's my MTG Gaming because I know there's different MTG Gamings out there, but that's my official MTG Gaming YouTube channel. You guys want more video game content? Want to see battles that I have, and we're about to bring in more people to have more battles with. So I hope you guys join in for that. MTG Gaming says he's out. Thanks for having me part of this podcast. Wrestling's bullshit.
Pleasure's all mine, Miguel, and you will be back before we know it, as the next time we plan to talk to you guys will be just after the TNA Slammiversary show, probably posting this upcoming Monday. Miguel of MTG Gaming and I
Yeah.
will be here to talk about TNA Slammiversary, a slept on pay per view that should be fantastic. That is definitely worth a watch. I'm super excited to get into TNA Slammiversary in just a couple days here. We covered the past weekend of professional wrestling, which was very heavy on both the AEW side and the WWE side. One of the busiest weekends of pro wrestling that we have ever been a part of. And we'll see you soon to talk about TNA. We also have Ant of Heel Synergy coming on here to talk about UFC, as UFC will be having a pay-per-view this upcoming Saturday night. We will have Ant and probably myself covering that UFC card for those UFC fans out there. You can find me, Wrestling is Bullshit, right here wherever you're listening to this. And I would recommend checking out my Instagram, Wrestling is Bullshit, as you see on the screen. And have a good night, day, weekend, week, wherever, whenever you're listening to this. It's been very fun to talk some wrestling with the boys, and we'll see you guys very soon.